Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Multiplex Logged It. We got a really fun show for you tonight. Talking about magic movies. We got a smaller panel, but a good one. These are going to be movies that are about magic, as in real magic within the universe, or it can be magicians, illusionists, what have you. So we got a great panel to talk about this. Spence, which song do you prefer? Magic by Rivers Cuomo and B.O.B. or Magic by the band Rude?
I haven't heard the first one, but because it's Weezer, I'm going to vote against it.
That's fair. I'm a little sad by that, but I set you up for that. Kirk, which one do you prefer? That one that's like, do you believe in magic? Or, it's magic?
Oh, I think the first. I don't know either of those what the bands are, but I think I like the first one better.
That's fair. I don't know the bands for either of those either. I think one of them is called The Lovin' Spoonful, I think, and the other one's called Pilot. That's right. I know
there's a band. There is a band called Lovin' Spoonful. I know that much, but other than that,
I think they're the Do You Believe in Magic? Yeah, that's them. Anyway, already off the rails. That's okay. We'll get started in the show. First segment of the show, as always, your favorite movie you logged this week. We watch a bunch of movies. What's the best one you watched this week? Spence, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay. I think there's a very generic answer. I think it's been brought up on the show before. So while I could pile on about the number one rated movie on Letterboxd, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm instead going to talk about, I watched a movie for the first time this week, sort of a classic, you might have heard of it. It's called The Exorcist, which almost perfect. I'm really happy I got to watch it. I don't really have any like super deep or like new thoughts. It's just really refined and smartly made. I didn't know why we just opened in Egypt or in Iran of all places. Weird way to try to jump into the movie. Sort of surprised about it, but whoa, I don't know what that's about.
That's from last week. That's not a spoiler or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a really smartly made movie. I give it 4.5 on the rewatch. It might go up to 5. I just fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, The Exorcist is one of those movies that I had not watched for a long time. And then I want to say I watched it. It was either this year or last year. And yeah, that genuinely like just one of the most well-made horror movies of all time. The way like this movie is given so much dignity by all of its actors. Like this could have been a pulpy movie, but the film just treats it with such dignity and class while also not forgetting to make it genuinely scary. It's, in my opinion, one of the best horror movies ever made. Kirk?
Yeah, I came to this late too. I only watched it for the first time a year or so ago, and kind of the same thing. Like all I ever heard about was like, oh, it's so scary and it's going to freak you. And that's kind of why I avoided it, because people told me how scary it was. It was going to like affect me psychologically, and I feel kind of robbed because it's just a great overall movie. It's a really well-made movie, a really good story. And I realized that they never show clips from anything except like the last 20 minutes of this movie.
I feel kind of robbed.
So, until you see it, you're never going to like get a full idea of what it's about, because it's this whole like character study and there's like a lot of really interesting things going on. So no, I really, like I said, I wish I would have came to it sooner. It's one I really enjoyed.
Absolutely. So now we go to me. My favorite movie I logged this week. I'm going to go with, I don't want to do any rewatches because most of these I've talked about before. So I'm going to, yeah, let's do that one. I watched a film for the first time that I really enjoyed. I watched The Station Agent yesterday, and I really like The Station Agent. For those who don't know, that's Peter Dinklage, Tom McCarthy directed film. Basically, Peter Dinklage stars as this person who has inherited a train station that is not really in use anymore from his friend who died. And he forms a friendship with two people, Patricia Clarkson and Bobby Cannavale. And it's a really charming little indie dramedy. I liked it a lot. Bobby Cannavale is so good in this. Like, I have finally stopped thinking him as the guy from Paul Blart Mall Cop, and now I actually recognize him as a legitimate actor. But yeah, no, I really like The Station Agent. This was a really good movie. Spence, you ever see The Station Agent?
I hate everything you choose to be.
That's fair.
No, I haven't seen it.
Kirk?
I haven't seen it yet. I want to. It's one of those ones just been out there. I'm a big Peter Dinklage fan. I think he's just really fun to watch, so I'd like to check this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend it anyway. Kirk, let's go to you. We're driving right through the show.
I got to watch Coda for the first time this past week. And first of all, this was a movie first time in I don't know how many years. Everybody in my family, since my children were like very small, we were watching cartoons. Probably the first time that all four of us said, "Hey, we would have watched this movie. I would have watched this movie," and we all sat down. Everybody watched it. Everybody finished it. Nobody went to bed early, and we all loved it. I think this movie is great. I was curious to see what I would think about because I've heard like very positive things, very negative things from different people. But I thought it was fantastic. Anybody making the Disney Channel comparisons, like Disney original movie, they must have checked out after like the first 10 minutes of the movie because there's so much more to it than this. This movie is fantastic. I just love you. I think you alluded to it in your review, Boatman. It's a movie that's very specifically about these people and their unique situation, but it's also very universal. And it's a movie I love. It kind of had like Lady Bird vibes for me, and you know how much I love that movie. It just where every character has something real you can latch onto and connect with. I love that about it. And the acting is fantastic. Troy Kotsur and Marlee Matlin are so good. And just watch this. I thought about like the level of difficulty they have acting as hearing impaired people, because even if you're acting with a different language, even if you're listening to language, you're still listening to language. You understand the concept of language, spoken language. But for them to express themselves and communicate those roles and what they're feeling with sign language, which is something most hearing people really can't wrap their head around. It's going to be so difficult, and they're so good. I think Troy Kotsur was good. I think Marlee Matlin was a standout. I think she's so good in this. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said, Kirk. I had such a good time with Coda, and I went back and rewatched it not too long ago with both my parents, actually, and they both loved it, and I loved it even more on rewatch. I think this is a movie that I will definitely see myself going back to a lot, because this is such like a comforting movie, but it's not necessarily
it's not schmaltzy.
Yeah, it's not. It's a movie that feels still complex. It's comforting while still being complex, and I think having a lot going on under the surface. Like you said, I still on rewatch, I do think Kotsur is a little bit better, but Matlin is phenomenal. That scene where she talks about her hesitancies when her daughter was born, is such a great moment. And had she been nominated, it probably would have been her Oscar clip. And frankly, I'm mad she wasn't nominated. I think she is phenomenal in the film. And I want to give credit where credit's due. Amelia Jones has such a difficult and almost thankless job in this movie, because she has to do so much here, but she also has to kind of just feel normal. She has to just feel natural, and she makes it look so natural that you kind of forget how good she is. Like I didn't even realize she was British, and that's an American accent. She has to be doing an American accent, singing in an American accent, while also doing sign language. And what she does physically in this movie, with her posture and her body movements, not even when she's not signing, she's giving a really good performance that I didn't really get the first time. I think this movie is such a delight. Spence?
And she walks 10 miles up a hill both ways in the snow. I'm gonna pick on Kirk a little bit here, and I don't mean to. Like we talk about Letterboxd a lot about like how he's harsher on films, and I feel like as I've like watched more and more, I've slowly started to like see where he's coming from. Like as you see more, as you're noticing more flaws and how movies have done it better. And I can just say this: I have not raw given a film 5 stars in a long time. And Coda broke that streak for me, like on a first watch, because it's just so incredible, and every part of it is really firing on all cylinders. I have like a couple of nitpicks overall with it, but I don't want those basically take away from how incredible the movie is and what it's saying and what it's doing, and everything just sort of comes together in this really special film. And if you're like, oh my god, it's so fucking, I can't believe a movie that made me feel happy won Best Picture. Fuck you. Enjoy it. If Kirk Kolakowski can love a film that everyone in this community is like, yeah, it deserves to win Best Picture, that's special. If Kirk likes a positive movie, watch it because it's fucking great.
I will just say on the whole Disney Channel thing for a second. I don't know where that comes from, because is this movie like spectacularly well, like in terms of cinematography? No, I'll give you that. The editing, the sound design in this movie, both of those elements are phenomenal. Like specifically the scene in which they cut all the sound out is such like
it's directed so well.
Yeah, and like just all the other sound elements in this movie, so phenomenal. I think that this movie doesn't get enough credit on a technical level, because I do think it's good. It's just not a flashy movie. It keeps the focus where it should be, which is these characters.
I will say though, nothing in Coda is better than Determinate from Lemonade Mouth, so maybe you could learn a little bit more from DComs.
I hate that there's a part of me that wants to agree with you. 11-year-old Lemonade Mouth fan Boat is like very much just like, yeah, Lemonade Mouth.
Isn't Coda just worse? Let It Shine? Like, come on.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to your least favorite movie you logged this week. We also watched some not good movies in addition to the good ones. Spence, start us off.
I'm going to cheat again here because I actually talked about my worst one I logged this week, Wings, on my new podcast with a bunch of people. Fuck it, it sucks. The movie I'm actually going to pick, though, is a movie that I semi-bonded with Kirk over watching because someone else picked as a deep cut. And I said, okay, I'll take it. We're out of time, whatever. And I watched Anthony Hopkins starring Magic, which I don't know what it's about. Anthony Hopkins has a little ventriloquist dummy, but he's actually insane. And while he's a magician, he also wants to kill people. It's really poorly put together. Hopkins is fine, and it's really all you can say because most scenes is just him talking to like this still moving puppet and still like doing the voice of it. And it's like none of it really works. And it wants you to have like this. It wants you just not sympathize, but just like see this man's like downward spiral of the second he gets fame, like how corrupted he is by it, represented by the puppet, but it's really bad. Like the writing is pretty poor. His twist sort of comes out of nowhere. Where it's like, oh, we got one TV gig, okay, and now he's absolutely insane, which is like it could be funny, but the movie doesn't really take it in that direction. It just says, oh, it's so tragic what fame can do to someone, and then half of it is like a puppet wanting to fuck a woman, and yeah, it's like she's a minor character. And then the movie entirely shifts its plot like halfway through to just go to a cabin somewhere on a fucking lake. Like none of it works together. And also, it's on your watch list, so you could watch it still, Boatman, and like disagree with me.
See, I was going to say, oh, well, Kirk, let's go. I haven't seen this, but Kirk, let's go to you since I trust you more than I do Spence on 70s movies.
Yeah,
now that I've heard that plot point, I don't know.
I
went away from the watch list.
I watched it too this week before the show because this is something I'd wanted to watch for a while. And I said, "Oh, we're doing a show on Magic. I'll watch Magic. Give me an excuse to do it." I didn't dislike it as much as Spence did. I think I found a little bit. I think Hopkins' performance is actually pretty good. They said this is kind of like his tryout for Hannibal Lecter. and he's doing all the puppetry and the ventriloquism and everything, and it's really good. It's kind of offsetting. Richard Attenborough directed this, which is like, I guess I was reading up on it. This was like his one for you in order to get Gandhi made, which is kind of crazy because this movie is like all completely off the radar. Gandhi's Gandhi, but anyway, this was the movie the studio wanted. But yeah, the story is all over the place. Like it's kind of like part like psychological thriller, but then there's like these like real like it becomes like this like love story and like romance. It's weird. It's really weird. It's actually this puppet was the R.L. Stein's inspiration for the Goosebumps puppet. So, but yeah, I mean it's not great. But Hopkins' performance kind of is worth watching alone, I think.
I do want to point out, it's also written by William Goldman. So directed by Richard Attenborough, written by William Goldman, starring Anthony Hopkins, should produce like one of the best movies ever made. And it is just like mediocre to bad. Like it's a weird, like everything is misfiring.
Yeah, I wanted a lot more. I was hoping for a lot more out of this movie.
Yeah.
Should I still watch it, Kirk, or you think this is one I can skip?
You could probably skip it.
Okay, fair enough. Banished from the watch list, 1978's Magic. So now we'll go to me. Miley, okay, I didn't watch anything terrible this week. I watched a movie that I gave 2.5 stars. And this is a movie a lot of people like. I'm sorry, I was just not big on it. This is a rom-com. Something's got to give. I personally was just, I think there are some charming things about it. I think the biggest problem with this movie, I don't think Jack Nicholson has ever been a good romantic lead. I love Jack Nicholson. He's one of my all-time favorite actors. I think any movie where he has to be like a romantic lead, I have the same problem with Heartburn. I don't think he's a good romantic lead because I just don't really buy him in that role. And the whole time you don't really, I don't think this movie sells you why Diane Keaton would fall for Nicholson. Diane Keaton's good in this movie. I don't think she's great or anything, but she's fine. And you know, Nancy Meyers, like you look at something like Parent Trap, which is a movie that isn't over stylized, but at the very least has like this sense of style. This movie just looks bland. Like it's just a very like nothing burger of a movie. It has like a stacked cast and none of them really get to do anything. But I will admit there are some funny moments. There's still that kind of Nancy Meyers sense of charm to it. And the core story itself is not bad, but I just think it's a movie with a lot of missteps and not a whole lot to grab onto, but it's nothing awful. Like it's a completely watchable movie I just didn't love. Kirk?
I haven't seen this one yet.
That's fair. Spence?
Yeah, no, Nicholson, like saying anything romantic to me just sounds weird in my head. I can't say, hey, you want to jump these bones? Like, I can't, like, none of that worked. I don't know why he's been casted so many times, so that I have, like, zero interest in this.
That's fair. I will say, the one romantic lead Nicholson I do give a pass to is As Good as It Gets. I think he's good and as good as it gets, but they also show that it's kind of a hard sell for the guy, that like he has to work at it. So
he has more sexual tension in fucking Chinatown. I don't like that movie. I don't get it.
Chinatown or As Good as It Gets?
Chinatown. Like I love Chinatown.
Oh,
I think it's great. So I don't like As Good as It Gets. I don't fucking vibe with it.
Fair. Well, that was a tangent. Kirk.
Yeah, like I said, I was watching some movies for potential things to talk about for the show. And one of the movies, I had a movie on my watch list. I thought, hey, what are different kinds of magic? How about movie magic? So I decided to watch an obscure little movie from the 80s called FX. Supposedly, this movie is about a special effects expert who uses his special effect mastery and magic to fight the cops and the mob or whatever. What it really is about this guy. He does special effects for the movies. He gets hired by the government to stage the assassination of this mafia guy so they can hide him supposedly in witness protection. But in reality, they're kind of setting him up as the patsy, and he has to spend the rest of the movie like on the run and hiding and figuring out, solving the mystery, blah blah blah. And I was hoping like this sounds cool, and this is how it was kind of sold to me. Like it's cool, like he'll be doing like special effects things and tricking people. And really, all it is it's basically just like discount MacGyver. Like he is a special effects guy. And he drives around a van that has like his special effects equipment, but it's basically just him using junk he has in his van to thwart people. And he's not really doing anything like special effectsy. He's just like, hey, I have some explosives in the van. Let's blow some stuff up, or stuff like that. And the third act's he's in the bad guys, like the main mafia guy's mansion, and he's kind of just covering Kevin McAllister in his way through it. And there's really nothing that makes him being a special effects artist special in this at all. It's not a terrible movie, but again, this is something I want a lot more of. I thought it was a great concept, and they just kind of blew it.
That's fair. I've never seen the film FX. Whenever I hear the title FX, I don't think of the film FX. I think of the channel, but specifically that intro that they would play during the commercials that would go FX as the
movies.
Yeah, but that's in my brain forever. Spence, does FX have the movies?
I haven't seen it, but if you go back to YLS for top 10 movies that should be remade, I had this on there because I haven't seen it, but it sounds fucking awesome. And Kobe Bancroft agreed to me, and it was his number one. So I'm actually really interested to watch it because even if it's not great, it can be better.
Did you just call Jacoby Kobe?
I said Jacoby Bancroft.
I heard Kobe, but that's fair.
You like baseball? Basketball? Fuck. It's been a long day.
I know Kobe Bryant is the basketball guy.
You like cows? Kobe beef.
Okay, moving on. All right. Now we'll get into the actual thing of the show. We're just moving right along like Fozzie and Kermit. So we'll get into the actual thing of the show. Magic movies. Any type of magic. Wizard magic. The real magic, illusion magic, whatever. So, Spence, we'll start with you. What's your first pick?
I have like 8 movies here. I'll start with a very controversial movie so we can get started on a hot topic. Back to YLS top 10 remakes. I said this is a movie that it was my number one, not because it's great, also because it's better than the original by a significant margin. And I'm going to go with 2018 Suspiria.
Okay.
Not only does it have witches, it also has the act of performing magic through dance, which can severely fuck up and like brutally break the bones in Mia Goth's body, which is like one of the best scenes in like horror, in my opinion.
Just to clarify, what's Suspiria?
2018.
2018. Okay.
Because 77 sucks. I think 2018 Suspiria. I think it like captured its magic elements really well. While you do still have this background element of dance and political drama going on in Germany in the 1930s or 50s, I don't remember. I think when it actually comes down to it, the magic the witches are passing down through their students is done really incredibly, and I think it all builds this really incredible finale.
That is fair. Full disclosure, I've never actually seen Suspiria. I have seen bits and pieces of it. I've never seen it all the way through. But yeah, so I won't really comment on this. Kirk?
I haven't seen this one. I have seen the original. I like it. I think it's just like a weird, like, it's just that what do they call it? Giallo? What do they call it? Giallo, yeah. Just like with, always room. There's just like, just like weird colors and just all kinds of odd stuff going on. I liked it, but from what I understand, this is a completely different movie. So I'd definitely like to check this out, but I just haven't yet.
That's fair. So now we get to my first pick, and I'm gonna go with, I'll just get one of these out of the way. I'm going to go with... Actually, no. For my first pick, I'm going with Wizard Magic. I'm going with a wizard by the name of Merlin. In Disney's classic, The Sword and the Stone, baby. I love The Sword and the Stone. For those who don't know, this is kind of the ultimate Boatman loves it. Everyone else is annoyed when Boatman brings it up, if you will. It is the Weezer of movies. The Sword and the Stone is the Weezer of movies, which means it's great. I love the Sword and the Stone. I think my favorite sequence in this movie is, of course, the Wizard's Duel, which is just one of, if not my favorite scenes in all of Disney, because I just think it's emphasizing solving problems creatively, and the different ways in which Merlin gets out of the situation against Madame Mim in the duel is so much fun, and it's so visually interesting. But I love this whole movie. I love the 3 different scenes with Arthur being the different animals. I love Merlin himself as a character. I love Archimedes. Archimedes is so much fun. And I love how Archimedes pretends like he doesn't care the whole time, and then clearly actually does care and saves Arthur on multiple occasions. Madame Mim, I think, is such a fun, wild Disney villain. And I like how chill this movie is. Like, it has those big scenes, but overall, this movie just is very relaxed. Like, I'll admit, nostalgia definitely plays a part, but I do think this movie has legitimately great things in it. And even though it does definitely play to, like, my sensibilities, I think it is legitimately good.
Go to Kirk first. Like, we're gonna have a fight.
I haven't seen this one yet.
I wanted to go to you first.
This is fuck this movie. This is like bottom 5, maybe bottom 10, maybe bottom 5 Disney for me. I think it is horrendously unfunny. The actual pacing of the film was really bad, of not really like building to anything it's like significant. Whereas it's like, I know that you like this type of movie more than me, but I can't stand it. I don't think like its goals are set out clearly. It's just, hey kid, I don't got a dad. Here's some magic. And it's just them lounging around as like, hey, here's a thing you can do, and not really what to do with it. So it's just, hey, you want to be a squirrel? You want to get fucked by a lady squirrel? And that's like 20 minutes of this an hour and a half movie. That's not what happened in this movie. Is it a chipmunk? I'm sorry. No.
Squirrel fornication. There is no squirrel fornication.
That female squirrel wants to fuck your boy Wart real bad, don't he? Like,
then the B movie is terrible based on that logic. Okay, that's
aware that it's bad and is funny. This movie, again, it is actively unfunny. The magic is done poorly. Its final battle is just animal. It doesn't fucking work. None of it works. I hate watching this. In fact, I'll have to do it fucking again, because you picked out to deep cut an Antal, and I had to fucking watch it for you, and I despised every second of it. I never want to watch this again. I know that I'll have to, and that makes it worse.
I am sad, and Tim is mad, I would assume, because
this isn't a secret. I've gone on about it before.
That's fair. Well, no, Tim probably agrees with your take, but like, he's mad I'm letting the show get off the rails, I would assume. So we'll get back on track. Kirk,
half an hour. We can go off the rails a little bit.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Kirk, your first pick.
I'm going to go with a newer movie that I really enjoyed. My first pick is going to be The Tragedy of Macbeth. I'm a big fan of this play in general, and depending on the interpretation, like sometimes they'll downplay the mystical elements, sometimes they'll make it the center focus. And I think this is one that really plays up the magic parts of it. Start off with the actress name is slipped my mind, but the actress who plays the sisters,
Catherine Hunter.
Yeah, Catherine Hunter, just so terrified in this role, and just what she does physically and what they do with the effects and everything. Just even though like she doesn't get a ton of screen time, those characters, kind of their presence is felt throughout the whole story. And just the way the movie's shot with the 4:3 aspect ratio, and that combination of stage and film. I think I'm convinced Cohn used Hamlet 48 for his inspiration, because if you've seen that, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, it's very much a movie, but like you can kind of feel the edges of the stage at the same time. And that's how this is, where like you feel like anytime the characters, if they walked 5 feet to the left or the right, they just disappeared into nothingness. And that adds just like the unease and the otherworldliness of it. and you feel that like that just permeates the whole movie. And also the way this character, the movie uses the character Ross, who in the original text, in most versions of the play, just really is kind of just there. The way they use him, he's almost like an agent of the witches. At least that's how I interpret it. So like even though they're not there, their presence is always felt through him, and you just feel that like that mystical sense to it the whole time. So I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoy that factor of it very much.
Yeah, I really like Tragedy Macbeth, and I want to watch it again because the fact that I enjoyed it that much on first watch, while only feeling like I understood about 75% of it, makes me want to watch again with subtitles on. Because I think the Shakespearean dialogue of it all was a little bit overwhelming at points for me, but that's not the movie's fault, I don't think. So, no, this is an incredibly well-made movie. I stand by Denzel should have won the Oscar this year because he is phenomenal. This is, I think, one of his best performances, period. I love Tragedy Macbeth on a technical level, and I feel like on rewatch, I can enjoy it from just a pure film level as well. Spence?
Ditto for everything you said, except for Denzel winning the Oscar. I personally, like for my actual rankings, he's third behind Garfield and Matt Damon, the last two. But no, I think it is really great. It's just I didn't really connect with it because Shakespearean dialogue is like a 20-80 chance to work for me. And this one just it didn't quite hit. I respect the hell out of it, but it's not a movie that I'm gonna get behind probably ever.
That's fair. So now, Spence, your second pick. Excuse me.
Yeah. We just got in a big fight, so I'm going to level it out. Picking a movie that I know we both love. Back to movie magic, but it's magic featuring a character from a movie. It is The Purple Rose of Cairo.
Okay, you're forgetting.
This is one of the most watchable movies I've ever seen. Because not only does it have like really incredible performances from already forgot her name, we should have pulled it up. The lead actress,
Mia Farrow.
Yeah, Mia Farrow, and then Jeff Daniels comes in as just like the super charismatic, like adventurer, like less cocky Indiana Jones type, and then the actor comes in, he's just like a mega dick, and it's great to see like that range that he has, and all the people like trying to like investigate what happened to the movie, and all the actors in the movie being like, what is this weird shit that just happened? And it's also like 80 minutes. So not only do you have like this incredible rom-com about meeting someone who you can never be with, it also just flies by. So if you want to have like a perfect date night movie, I think this is it. And also I have a list on my phone of like monologues or scenes from films that if I have a chance to audition for something, I'm going to do. I think that Mia Farrow's scene where she's leaving her shitty husband is one of the best scenes that Woody Allen has ever written because it's super tight, it's super contained, and seeing her range of ready to leave him, being manipulated by him, remembering how she got to where she was, and then finally being able to leave him is an incredible bit of acting from them.
Yeah, everything you just said is correct. I love this movie. The one thing you didn't really point out that I just want is I love the feel of this movie, both the feel of the real world, which definitely still has this kind of more magical version of like the 1930s and 40s, and I love the world of the film. I love the way they make the Purple Rose of Cairo within the film feel, and it feels like a real film. And I love my favorite thing is that Jeff Daniels' character, I should say, is not even like the main character within the film. Like he's a side character that she falls in love with. And I think that's such a fascinating thing. And I love just the dichotomy of the characters arguing about what the film is really about. And there's so much like fun meta comedy, but it's just really charming. It's like, this doesn't feel like the movie that is like trying to show off how smart it is. This is just a real delight, in my opinion.
Well, I want to focus on something you said before I throw it to Kirk. Because, like, again, like the idea of being set in the 30s and 40s. So, like, this is like this is the Great Depression.
Mhm.
And the idea of movie magic is this is her one time to get out of the house and really feel like she's outside of her world. So being in there, like, it is magic. Like her watching the scene, and she goes back to the movie like every day, every week, because she wants to live in a world that isn't her own. And I think that's beautiful and also sort of fits the topic really well.
That is fair. Kirk, have you seen this?
I haven't seen this one yet. It's what I really want to, and I think I'd enjoy.
I think
but I just
knowing
haven't gone to.
you would enjoy this one. I think you would have a good time with this.
Definitely check this out.
It's super short.
Now we go back to me, and I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with a more obvious pick, probably my favorite movie about quote-unquote fake magic, if you know it, like the illusion magic, whatever. You know what I mean?
Close-up magic.
Yeah, like illusionists, whatever, magician magic. I can't words. Anyway, The Prestige. I'm talking about The Prestige. I like The Prestige. Even then, that does get into real. It's complicated. Anyway, I love The Prestige. The Prestige is a very fun time. I've talked about this before, but I love the dynamic between the two main characters in this, because you have Borden, who is the technically brilliant magician, right? He is all about the technical perfection of the trick. He is about the details, everything in that. He is the best straight up illusionist between the two. And Gier doesn't have the technical perfection that Borden has. But what he does that Borden doesn't have is he's the better showman. He's the better magician between the two, because he knows how to actually dress up and sell a trick, whereas Borden does it with no frills. And that dynamic between the two in their rivalry is so fascinating to me, because I love any film that basically kind of shows that dichotomy between being good at something and being charismatic, with one character being one and the other character being other, and how that affects their successes and failures. And I think that's so fascinating. Beyond that, I also just think this movie is fascinating and so well written, and the way the different timelines are shown and things are revealed about those timelines is so interesting. I love this film. Kirk?
I assume this is going to get brought up. I love movies about obsession, and I love movies about like different art forms that you don't necessarily maybe think of as an art form, but people who are obsessed with that and who are like trying to like master those things. And that's what I love about this movie. Like you were saying exactly, Boatman, like how it's like the different takes and the different things that are necessary to be great at this. And both these guys have half of it, and they're trying to like get the other half. Just cat and mouse with the skills they have. And I think that's great. I just love any movie that's a deep dive into some kind of craft, and just really digging into like what makes those people tick. So that's one of the things I really love about this movie.
Absolutely. Spence?
This is my favorite screenplay ever written. I mentioned it. Yeah, I think it's super complex. I think it's super well done. The fact that it balances so many different storylines and themes, and also has these different character voices, which to me is like really important in writing. The only reason I didn't pick it is I told Cody about this for a while. I asked him to do the same thing for Logged It. Is now that I've done my top 100, I feel like I've like used up all those movies. I don't want to keep going back to the trenches over and over and over. So I'm trying to generally avoid them when picking lists. So this one my number one, but I wanted to avoid it, but I'm happy it's here.
Fair. So now we go over to Kirk.
Okay. For my next pick, I'm going to go with another movie that I know Boatman loves. I'm picking Needful Things.
Everything's coming up.
This is a movie. It's a Stephen King adaptation. I've never read the book, but I can tell you it's a perfect Stephen King adaptation. Like, it just captures his vibe so well. It just takes like small town life, specifically New England small town life, and uses the magic element to it to like just elevate and like hone in on like the horrors of that everyday life. And it's a perfect blend of the two things. Max von Sydow plays basically kind of a spoiler because find out deep in more or less the devil, and he comes to this town and he's he starts like a curiosity shop, and people come in. He just happens to have things they want, and like the thing that's like what they most desire. And to get it, they have to do something for him. And at first, it seems innocuous, but it's like he's pulling the strings to basically just use his powers to destroy this town. And it's like it's very specific dark kind of magic that he uses, but it's a very mystical and magical type of thing. But like I said, I just love it. It has like such a perfect tone of like humor and just like nihilism, and it's such a fun movie. I love it so much.
This lands on that perfect Stephen King line of being just scary enough and just goofy enough. Mm-hmm. Like, it's exactly right in the middle between the two. I love this film. I think that Max von Sydow is so creepy and so good. I love everyone in the movie. I think he's fantastic. I think everyone in the movie is really good. Ed Harris is, of course, great. I think, though, that to me, the element of this movie that works so well is the psychological torture element of it all, right? Mm-hmm. He never does technically the bad thing. It is always everyone else does it, and the way that it just exposes it's psychological warfare. It feels like Hannibal Lecter on steroids in terms of that, just knowing what makes everyone tick. Yeah. And that is just such a brilliant move. And the whole cast is great, and it's so creepy and so good.
I have not seen it.
Fair. So we will move right along to whose pick?
Me.
You.
Yeah. I will say your internet's not great, so if
While you talk, and I will leave and come back.
Okay. I am gonna go for the Jeff Daniels double feature, going from movie magic to TV magic. I'm going Pleasantville. You hear that, Boatman?
I heard Intville, so I'm going to assume it's Pleasantville.
Yeah. I just think it's a super smart movie because I feel like a lot of maybe it's just because I'm not like as well versed in movies as you both. I don't see a lot of films sort of dissecting the modern perspective on the past, like the idealization of it all. So the fact that we have these modern characters slowly like corrupting the 1950s town by really just showing it for what it is, and the hate and the discrimination and the sexuality of everything. Like, you're seeing it for what it truly is, and not like us going back and watching fucking I Love Lucy. And I think it really is just like incredible what the film's able to do, talking about all of these heavy topics and slowly building to it. Because if you go in and don't really know what it's about, other than, oh, hey, two people enter a TV show, I think that it creeps up on you in a way that you don't really expect, and then you're hit with it at the end of just, oh shit, this is like, it hasn't changed. We are still dealing with this today, and seeing like the government's response to the presence of color in this town is fucking mortifying and horrible, and it's incredible what this film's able to do. Again, incredible screenplay. Shout out to people who I'm going to stall to talk about this because I like being correct in everything. Actually, Bobby can help me out here. And Chip down, is it Joan Cusack who plays the fictional mom?
Joan Allen.
Joan Allen. I love their scene of her wanting to leave her husband, and just like that slow, like the encroaching sense of love and lust for each other that they have at the diner, and his paintings. It's incredible. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, I haven't seen Pleasantville in a while, but I remember really enjoying it when I first saw it, because I just like the satire of, the town, this 50s sitcom, and then how it just kind of turns into a satire of race in the 1950s. And that's such an interesting, and it's really about how we idolize, the past without really acknowledging, the the darker sides of that past, and I think that's so interesting. And everyone in it is just playing it pitch perfect. And I think like the visual style when color first starts to enter into the sitcom world it looks so good. I really like this one. I want to rewatch it because it's been a while.
Also, your favorite man on the planet, Don Knotts, is in it.
Don Knotts is in this movie. A welcome addition, as always. Kirk?
You guys are hitting on my blind spots tonight. I haven't seen this one.
Oh wow, that's another one.
We need to trade movies.
I feel like you would definitely like this one.
It's on my list.
That's fair. So now we are back to me, I believe. So I'm going to go with another film about magic. I was going to go with a certain franchise, but then I remembered this film also kind of. Spencer, you don't have another pick, do you? Well,
I have a proposal for the 10th pick, and we'll get to it.
Okay. Then I think I'll hold up for that proposal for the 10th pick, and I will pick this then. I'm going with Spirited Away. Because this is a film, I'm counting it because the villain is a witch, so I think that counts. It's magic, even though some of it is just ghosts. Yeah, I think that this one's just one of the most beautiful looking animated movies ever made. Like, just an absolute gorgeous film, and just has such like a really interesting tone of feeling overwhelming at points and calm at points and being funny and being scary and being charming. It feels the best example I can come up with is it is this decade's century's Alice in Wonderland. It has that same Lewis Carroll feel of just being on a journey, but with this still that sense of danger and the unknown. And it's just such a well done film. I love it. It's my favorite Ghibli. It's one of my favorite animated movies, period. Kirk?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Ghibli fan in the world, but I'm glad it's getting some representation on the list because there are so many great examples of magic in those movies. There's another one I was considering picking this one, but this is all picking. Yeah, you're right. Like it's a very magical world, so I think it definitely belongs on the list. I'd say it's probably my top 5 Ghibli movies. Not again, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the studio overall, but this is on the upper end for me.
That's fair, Spence.
I am almost exactly in agreement with Kirk. Ghibli's not my thing because I like my movies to have a very straightforward plot, and I think this one is a little bit it falls into the Ghibli whimsy of just being a slice of life and of existing in a space I can't really get behind. That being said, I think this does it really well. I think her name's Chihiro or something like that. I love her journey and all the people that she connects with, and this has some of my favorite creature designs in Ghibli. No, I have no slight with you picking it.
That's fair. So now we get into Kirk's pick. Kirk, your third and final pick.
I'm still trying to narrow it down because here's the thing. I picked 2 dark magic movies, and I want to pick something a little lighter, but I'm not sure which one I want to go with. Sure, I'll go with this one. Why not? I'll go with Enchanted for my last movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a great movie. I think it's just a great spin on the like a parody of Disney movies without being cynical or mean spirited. I think it keeps that same idea of them exploring them and asking some questions about it, but at the same time still maintaining the spirit of those movies. I think it walks a great balance. I think Amy Adams is great in this. We went and saw it my daughter I think was 4 or 5 when this came out, and her and my wife saw it 4 or 5 times in the theater. I think I saw it twice. But it took me a couple watch throughs. At first I was watching something what's good? What is up with her performance? And then it finally clicked on the second watch through. I'm she's actually being a cartoon. She is playing a real life cartoon, and she's so good at it. I think she's fantastic in this. And I think Susan Sarandon is great as a fairy godmother. What's his name? Timothy Spall as the little henchman. They just like I said, they recreate that Disney world in the real world so well. And I think it's just a really fun Disney movie. and yeah, it's another Kolakowski family favorite, so definitely worth talking about it.
The one element you didn't shout out that I want to shout out for a second, because it's besides Adams, because Amy Adams owns every second of this movie.
Mhm.
But besides Amy Adams, my favorite element of this movie is James Marsden.
Yeah,
James Marsden is just having a blast. I think just one of the moments that has always consistently made me laugh is him fighting the bus, thinking the bus is like a dragon and fighting it and stabbing a sword into the bus. It's such a great moment. And he's clearly, Marsden is just having the time of his life making this movie. I want to see Marsden in more roles like this, where he just gets to be goofy and have fun. Because, like, this is maybe my favorite Marsden performance, period, outside of him in The Butler. Because Butler's not a great movie. He's really good as JFK in The Butler. But yeah, I think he's so much fun. I stand by it. Amy Adams should have been nominated for this. I think she is that good. It's not a performance that normally would get a nomination, but I think she is. What you said is exactly right. She is playing a cartoon. She is playing a living cartoon, and it is scarily accurate. She is perfect. Spence?
My favorite. So this sounds so pretentious. My favorite character in this movie is New York City, because again, every movie you know of is like set in New York, and it has like a very strong New York voice. When I fucking went there, I could only think of Enchanted the whole time. Like walking through Central Park, there was a band literally playing "That's How You Know." And I'm like, this just feels like I am in the movie, and I think the movie just has like such a great sense of place, both in its like idealization and the honesty of the city. It's great. We saw it together in Iowa. We were all like, this just fucking rocks. I fucking love my Amy Adams musicals. It was a great time.
Amy Adams musicals, all pretty good. So yeah, now we get a 10th pick. Spence, I want to hear your proposition for the 10th pick.
So we could be boring and do Harry Potter, in which case there's a few options for us. Or we could represent Tim, who couldn't be here today, and pick the most Tim movie. It also 3 letters starts with the letter T. Ted.
See, I don't want to, but I feel like we should, even though I thought what you were going to say is we should just pick all Harry Potter as like one spot.
I mean, I'm fine with it. That's a little boring, but what I'm saying is
you're not wrong. I want to.
What the hell is?
That would
it opens FANZONE. Like it's a thing for this channel. I'm sure Tim would have if he was here.
Since he couldn't be here. So Tim, we love you. I need you back to be my co-host, because clearly I'm out of my depth. This is the comeback Tim pick. Ted, here you go. Ted is good, I guess. I'm not the biggest Ted fan, to be honest. I like it. I like it and understand why people love it. It's not that Seth MacFarlane style of humor. It's not my kind of humor at the end of the day. I don't love the humor in this movie, and that's kind of my big problem. The one scene I like is the party scene. The party scene and the Ted getting hired scene. That scene is funny. Those 2 scenes are great. I don't love the movie as a whole. Kirk?
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, because I'm kind of the same, but I'm not a huge Seth MacFarlane fan, and I look at it and I'm like, when I see clips of it, I'm like, oh, it's just Peter Griffin, but he's a teddy bear. Okay, I'm good. Is he actually magic? Is that the story? Does he come to life through magic?
As a kid, like wishes for his teddy bear to be his best friend who comes to life.
All right.
I mean Mark Wahlberg.
I'll allow it.
Whatever. I love this movie, but it's hard. Like again, every time, like if I could boil down like my like thoughts of Tim into one thing, it's Michelob Ultra Tuscan Orange Grapefruit. My God, what is America? America is imploding or whatever. This movie's a lot of fun. Again, and it's not perfect. I think I have like a 4 on Letterboxd. I think it's a lot of fun. There's some great like jokes. Sam Jones is like Flash Gordon's his own thing. To me, I know the name because of Ted. And I think Mila Kunis is also great in it. I just think it's a movie that has a lot of fun to be had. And it's one of those like lighter, somewhat thoughtless comedies I think just really works. And consistently, like when I come back to it, I hear new jokes. I'm like, oh, I didn't remember this one. I think it's just like it's a quintessential like Sunday afternoon movie.
Fair enough. Well, Tim, I hope you're watching, and I hope you like that we gave you the pick of Ted. So our picks, just to run them down, were Suspiria, The Sword in the Stone, great movie. Tragedy Macbeth, The Purple Rose of Cairo, The Prestige, Needful Things, Pleasantville, Spirited Away, Enchanted, and Ted.
Well, that was 9 great movies.
I'm sad. Anyway, before we go, though, we got to talk about the movie of the month, Train to Busan, Spence.
Is that the transition? Just okay.
What do you want? What do you want?
I thought you were just like, what are your thoughts? You just said my name. I'm just like, you just froze me off.
Well, yeah, I was like, we're going to talk about the movie of the month. Spence. I would assume that means we're going to talk about the movie of the month. You. Here, I'll redo the transition.
Okay.
And now we will be talking about the film Train to Busan. Now with Spence, who's about to give us their thoughts on Train to Busan. And we'll speak on Train to Busan to make the transition comfortable. Spence, are you ready to talk about Train to Busan?
Why are you like the worst Australian I've ever seen this side of Grant Gregory? Anyways, movie's fine.
I don't even think I was trying to do an Australian
You
accent.
weren't, and that's what makes it funnier. It's fine. I think I was a little bit overhyped because everyone's like, oh, it's one of the greatest horror movies of the 2010s. And I just don't understand because I think generally the zombie genre especially, I think has a big setback in terms of its writing, where not only are you going to be killing off these characters that you're creating, you're also going to be having them turn against your leads. So you need to have like that emotional attachment. So not only when they die, when they turn, you're like, oh shit, that sucks, that happened. And I don't think the script does a great job at putting that all together. I didn't really get super emotionally attached to anyone besides my boy Gilgamesh. I like put him. I think it's Ma Dong Sok. I forget his first name, but I think he's actually great in the movie. I love his presence. Everyone else could not give a shit about. The effects are fine. I like how like I like this version of zombies more than like the slow walkie Romero Walking Dead type. I don't think it really works there as horror. I think here it sort of works, but creating a horror movie where I don't care about the characters and you've trapped it in a creature which doesn't like create any interesting or fun kills. I think it's never gonna work the way it should. There's maybe some zombie media that I think works better than this, but this is just fine.
That's fair. What do you give it out of 5?
Look. 3.5.
Wait, Kirk?
I don't know what movie Spence watched. Yeah, I'm so glad that this won the poll because this is a great movie and more people should watch it. So hopefully it gets more eyes on that because of that. But I love this. You know, I'm a zombie guy. I love zombies. I love Romero. I love the classic stuff. I think this is a great update. I love the effects. I love the way the zombies look. I like the way they move. I just love the interpretation of zombies in this movie. And again, Spence is crazy because these characters are great. Most zombie movies are the characters are just there to either get killed or not get killed. I felt connected to these characters, especially the 2 main characters. I cried at the end of this movie. I've never cried at the end of a zombie movie before. I've felt very connected to these characters and their story and their plight. I think it does a great job of balancing the character aspects and them trying to achieve their goals with the monster set, with the monster story. And I also just enjoy like the setting on the train. It has that kind of Snowpiercer feel. It's Snowpiercer for zombies, and I think that adds to the whole atmosphere. And I think they do a really great job. So yeah, I love this movie, and I give 4 stars.
4 stars. Okay. Well, thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Spence. Thank you to everyone at home for watching. This has been Multiplex Logged It. Next week. Oh, yeah. Next week. I don't actually know off the top of my head what we have next week. Hold on. Spence, talk while I look up what next week is.
We were almost under an hour, and then Boatman had to be unprepared.
little mean, but fair. You're not incorrect.
I think I can beat you to it.
I believe, yes, it is Animated Villains. Animated Villains is next week. So if you want to be on that, be sure to let either myself or Timber Cullen know. I actually think, is that one booked up already? No, it's not. We got one. No, that is booked up. Scratch that. If you want to be on Animated Villains, too late. We already have that. So thank you everyone for watching. I'm Kaleb Boatman. Thank you to Adelaide Spence and Kirk Kalikowski. This has been Multiplex Blogged.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good evening.